March is Brain Injury Awareness Month. Please help us make a difference.
When I was in a coma, I was 14 days.
Every 23 seconds, someone has a traumatic brain injury.
I spent 4 weeks in a medically induced coma.
The Center for Disease Control estimates 1.7 million people have a TBI each year in the United States.
3 fractured vertebrae in my back, and my head was all kicked in by cowboy boots.
TBI is a contributing factor in 1/3 of all injury-related deaths in the U.S.
I went into a coma for over 9 days and 2 hours.
That means 8 times as many people will be diagnosed with TBI each year than breast cancer. And 34 times as many people will be diagnosed with TBI than HIV and AIDS.
There is a great need for us to provide more comprehensive services for people with TBI because truly they are going to have to deal with these deficits for the rest of their lifetime.
TBI is the signature wound for Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom.
It doesn't end because we still are trying after 4 years to get the help that he needs.
I feel like we do a fairly good job with treating the TBI survivor, especially in acute care, subacute care, rehab, inpatient and outpatient. But where there is a true lag in services is after those rehabilitative services have come to an end, most likely because of insurance payments. What is available for that TBI survivor?
Brain injuries kill more people under the age of 34 than all other diseases combined.
The acute setting, like I had referred to initially, that is after someone immediately has suffered a traumatic brain injury and they're brought through the ER and up probably to the intensive care unit where the primary goal is saving the individual's life. The various changes in insurances, we've seen those length of stays continue to dwindle. One of the things that I'm really blessed to have working here in this post-acute environment is really working on community reintegration, which is the essence of occupational therapy. Getting people back to the grocery store, getting them back to going to restaurants, and if you look around this community, it was chosen specifically for that reason. As we're learning more about the brain and the neuroscience of the brain, we're now knowing more about the neuroplasticity of the brain and how we can create other pathways and teach compensatory strategies to try to get around these injuries. So that table that we were working on 25 years ago is not that same table. We know, at this point, we know you can see gains, 5 years post. They may be slower gains, but you still can make gains.
You had a brain injury, but you had some physical limitations.
A half hour of physical therapy at the rehab center was enough to lay me out for the rest of the day, where I'd be taking naps and I was exhausted. Not to be independent, very depressing, very sad. Being 21, I was under my parents' insurance at the time. I think physically, truthfully, I think I'm about 85% of what I was.
I think the people that often fall through the cracks the most are people with more mild brain injuries, because oftentimes they're able to walk, they're able to talk, and maybe move their arms and extremities like you and I, and unless you had a little bit more in depth of a conversation with them, you may not recognize their deficits.
Emotionally and mentally, it was a whole nother story. I think it was much more of a battle. 5 pages of a simple book was just so mentally exhausting. A career change here from med school. Now I'm involved in I'm becoming a personal trainer. I still live with my parents. I believe I'm back on my feet completely. Continue to get better, and you continue to grow to be the better person, or the person who you want to be or who you wanted to be. Wear your helmets and
I
be
used to
safe.
race professional motocross, and I crashed during a time practice in Daytona Speedway Supercross. My memory is actually fine. All my problems are mostly physical.
What had the greatest impact on your rehabilitation?
So I would say my parents, and then funding from organizations like Brain and Spinal Cord. Very fortunate to have insurance, because I'm not sure how I got through that entire experience without insurance. I was very lucky.
Do you have insurance now?
I do. I continue to have insurance.
What?
And I'd like to get into some type of sports marketing in the future. I'm currently a full-time student. The experience that I've gotten from this whole injury, I look at life completely different now, and you know, nothing's holding me back right now except for a few physical deficits, but I mean, I'm just living life. There's a lot of people out there that are suffering from injuries like this that are much more severe than mine, that are still getting through it and, you know, still pushing on to progress to, you know, reach their goals and succeed in life, whatever it is they want to do. And so things like that have been really positive
Most
in my
of
experience.
that time, the TBI survivor, the families and the friends and the survivor, him or herself, they really don't fully capture and understand yet the deficits that this person is going to have. And a lot of times it's not until they start to become re-engaged that they realize the deficits that they have. And then there aren't services for them. So I believe we need to be able to create something that will allow them to seek and learn more about their deficits, that will allow us to educate them, but also then to provide some unique therapies so that they can either be re-engaged in activities that they want to be involved in or actually back into their profession.
Affected my sight, my compulsive behavior, my emotions, just a lot. My ability to deduce, focus, stay on task. I mean, it was all greatly, damaged. A lot of people who don't know this injury don't understand what you're going through on the inside. So you might look like I'm right here, right now in front of you, like I'm okay, but I really ain't. So it caused some problems at the house, and it didn't work out, and I left. Being on my own didn't work out so well for me. I wound up mismanaging my medication, drinking way too much, and had an unintentional overdose. People don't recognize, you know, TBI and the issues, and one of my compulsion is anger. And things maybe build up more in your head than they actually are, but long story short, again, it was a failed attempt. But, you know, the goal is to put us back out safely in society. So we tried again. I refuse to lose. Tough times don't last.
After 9 months of intense daily therapy, I went back to Emory in Atlanta, and I walked with my original graduating class. They came and picked me up on a bus every day. I did swimming, recreational, life skills, physical therapy, occupational therapy. Discrimination that I feel on a very frequent basis, because if I'm tired, I will slur my words. Craig Hospital, one of the 5 best head and brain injury hospitals in the country. It's out in Denver. I attended Stetson and got my joint law degree and MBA, and now I'm working as an attorney in St. Pete. It affects my daily life every day.
How do you have a disability? Because that's what people are going to ask.
My brain was, I mean, I had a complete, the front, middle, and brainstem section. I had a traumatic brain injury.
You serve on the Advisory Council for the Brain and Spinal Cord Injury Program for the state of Florida. What does that mean to you as a person living with TBI?
Oh, I love it, because there are neurologists and neuropsychologists and a lot of other people on this committee, but the real experts, honestly, are not the professionals. They're the ones with it. I want to become a part of anything I can do to give hope and inspiration for people and show people that with enough support and attitude, you can do anything.
We need to advocate for these individuals with traumatic brain injury beyond the inpatient rehab setting, because there's still so many skills that they are ill prepared for at that point. And I think if we could get insurances on board to recognize the importance of post-acute rehab to maximize these individuals' capacity for returning to a higher level of independence in all their activities of daily living, as well as improving their quality of life.
So we definitely need to have services that allow these people to come together as a community, feel safe, and then use technology or other compensatory strategies to become useful and employable.
For the past 4 years, it's really been hard. The first year was really hard.
The socioeconomic effects of the injury, you're looking at the family dynamic effects of the injury. So it's, it really can play a detrimental role if they don't get the services they need.
My husband and I physically had to move down for the first 6 months to live with our son and take care of him. And so the mental and daily stress was really hard. Getting him to the doctors, providing for him, caring for him. Because of the broken neck, they needed to treat that, and they wanted to do surgery. They couldn't because of the strokes and the bleeding in the brain. They would show us pictures of what his brain looked like and saying it looks like a senior citizen's brain.
Invisible deficits that people don't see. It may not be a limb that's not working, but it's their brain that it's not working as efficiently. So maybe they don't understand as quickly, they can't remember as well, they have to reread things multiple times. All of these things impact on their life significantly and impact on their relationships with other people.
I had never heard of TBI. I had heard of broken necks and I'd heard of strokes. No one ever really sat us down and explained exactly what was going on or what to expect. And he kept saying, I'm okay, I'm ready to go home. I knew that he wasn't, and I knew that I wasn't ready for him to come home. After about 3.5 weeks, he didn't have any more insurance that would cover him inpatient. He needs to go home today. And so we discovered his insurance had run out and they were letting him go home. Because there was a bus stop within 1 mile of our home, that they couldn't provide that service, that he would have to walk to the bus stop. Depending on everything being done for him is not necessarily there anymore, but there are some areas that we do still have to help him with. The draining of his mind as his body and everything affects how he could perform at work.
People that will go back to work after an injury prematurely, and then 6 months down the line, they're losing their job. And then they'll go and they'll get another job, and they'll probably talk their way through the interview pretty well. But because of the executive dysfunction, their impulse control, their problem solving, their planning and organization, time management skills, they may not be able to meet some of the requirements that the corporation has for them if they're not aware that they have this injury. They'll serially have a job, lose a job, have a job, lose a job, and not be able to maintain that without some kind of support.
Try and get all the information that you can. Try to find the right person to speak to. It's hard to do that. And Congress and the government needs to make things easier for people that were placed in a position like we were.
So what is he doing now?
He's trying to make a difference in other people's lives.
I know it's difficult because you don't see the brain injury. Not everyone with a brain injury is in a wheelchair, and people, you don't see their brain missing. It's very difficult and it's very complex. Each brain injury is completely unique and different. There's no cookie cutting around it. There needs to be better protection. There needs to be laws in place that will protect people with brain injuries financially, make sure that they're able to live somewhere that's safe and that they're able to have health coverage. We need to make sure that they're able to still take care of their families. March is Brain Injury Awareness Month. You can make a difference and you can save a life. Lie Down or Stand Up is very appreciative of those who participated in the film. Without you, this would not be possible.